guys, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. It is Nikki here. So today I am so excited because I've done a full review on the new Fenty foundation. So many of you guys wanted the review on it. It's the hydrating foundation, and if you want to see what my thoughts are and you want to see me create this full face of Fenty, then just keep on watching. Okay, so I'm really excited to get started. I've already moisturized. I've used my Tatcha Dewy Skin. I can't kind of recommend where to get it from other than the website for you guys, because I do get it from PR and I'm really grateful for that. I love Tatcha products. I think their skin products are insane. So I'm really nicely moisturized. Now, I don't have the Fenty primer just because, I don't know, I didn't feel like buying it, if I'm honest. That is the honest truth. I didn't want to spend my coin on a primer. So we're going to move it straight onto the foundation. I'm really excited for this. I actually have swatched it and tried it out, kind of halfly mixed it with stuff, so I haven't really fully tried it out. So this is going to be my first impressions and we'll just see how it goes. Okay, so let's get straight into foundation. This is the Pro Filter Hydrating Longwear Foundation. I've got the shades 310 and 330 because annoyingly I'm a mix between the two. I could probably get away with the darker one and then lighten with concealer, but I really, just for the sake of the video, wanted to kind of match my skin really well. You guys know that I love doing that. So these retail for £27. I mean, if it's an amazing foundation, then it's not going to be as pricey as like the Pat McGrath. So I think it's okay price wise. I don't think you're ever really going to find a foundation, other than if it's a drugstore, like quite a cheap, under the £10 mark anyway. So I think it's okay price. Now it's the same price as the Soft Matte. This is the Longwear foundation, the original one. What I would say is I prefer this packaging. I just do straight off the bat. I just feel like it's weighty. It feels £27 worth. It feels a little bit more luxurious. I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I don't like plastic packaging like this. I don't like squeezy tube. It's not a squeezy tube, it's a pump actually, but I don't like this kind of shape of packaging. I just associate it with kind of more cheap makeup, or the makeup that I was growing up with. So I don't know, like, I don't know if that's like me kind of like just seeing it for what it is. It's a personal preference, and I don't really like packaging like this. However, let's get into the product, because that's what this video is all about. Let's see how it performs and let's see what it's like. Okay, so I actually have a pump of each of these. I've got the 330 and then the 310 on my Makeup Drop palette. What I'm going to do is I'm going to swatch them side by side so you can see the shade difference between the two if you are a similar shade to myself. Okay, so looking at the shade straight off the bat, the gal on the counter said that these don't actually oxidize. So these are true to color. The 330 would be the shade that matches me the best. But I have got a 310 because I know around my cheeks, I tend to be a little bit lighter. So I like to just kind of mix and make my own customized shade. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to mix these on with my beauty blender on the palette, and then I'm just going to dot this all over the face and blend it out using my damp beauty blender, as I would any other foundation that I'm popping on. I'll also blend it down on my neck as well. Okay, so in terms of shade, I've got a spot there, I don't know where that's coming from, but in terms of shade, I am loving this foundation. I think it's so weird because I feel like foundation application works differently when your skin's obviously in different ways. So I feel really hydrated today, and I feel like this foundation's gone on super nice. I know that when I've swatched it and my skin maybe was a little bit dry, or I think I was drinking the night before, so my skin was definitely a little bit drier and not as hydrated. It sort of felt like it clung on to certain patches, and it's gone on super smoothly today. I think just hydrate underneath it. I think in terms of coverage, it's definitely a medium coverage. I would say it's got like a satin, it's got a very dewy satin finish on the skin. For me personally, I would water it down with either a moisturizer or a liquid illuminator. I know that I always add in my NARS Orgasm liquid illuminator drops into every single foundation because I like my foundations to be watery. It's just a consistency that I like to work with. And then I always build up with concealer, so that's always what works for me. So this foundation straight away is a little bit thicker for my liking, but I could still work with it, if you know what I mean. If you prefer like a watery one, just water it down. But overall, like, I think it looks beautiful and it looks super, super radiant. And I feel like it doesn't look mask-like. I feel like the Pro Filter matte one looks like a mask on me, and that's why I stopped wearing it. It was a bit too matte and it just looked like you could see the difference in color, and I didn't like that. But this one just looks more like, I don't know, like satin skin, which I really, really like. Okay, so I wanted to let the foundation sit on my skin for just a few minutes, just to double check, make sure that it didn't oxidize, which I don't feel like it has. It's still got that radiance, so it doesn't dry down matte. Feels really hydrating. Actually feels quite lightweight on the skin. So I'm going to move on to concealer, where of course going to be using the Fenty Beauty. These are the Pro Filter Instant Retouch concealers. Now I've got two shades, one which is like the same color as my skin to sort of just correct my darkness underneath my eyes, and then one to brighten as well. So I've got the 330 and the 260. What I would say about these concealers is I reach for them, but I don't reach for them as much as other ones, just because they are a tiny bit more drying and they dry super, super matte. The coverage was absolutely amazing. So I'm going to go in with the 330 and then go on top with the 260 to kill two birds with one stone, and then blend this out using my damp beauty blender. So this is always the stage in my routine where I'm like, please don't let the postman knock on the door, because I always look the craziest. It just looks too much, but we are going to tone it down. Don't worry, we're going to bring a little bit of color back into our skin. So I've got the Fenty Beauty. These are the match sticks. I've actually got a highlighter shader called Sand in this, but I've already used my highlighter in liquid. But for the kind of contour bronze, just add a little bit of warmth and definition to the face, I'm going to be using the shade Truffle. So I'm going to be popping it just around the outskirts of the face to add that dimension back in, because we are looking like a flat, bold egg right now, and we need a little bit of shape to the face. So I'm going to be doing this, popping this on, and then I'm going to use a brush just to blend this out. Now that all the liquid and cream products are on, you guys know this is how I like it. I'm actually just going to zoom you in so you can see the skin at its finest before we put any powder or anything like that on. I'm now quickly just going to go off camera, apply my brows, just a little bit of product, just to give my brows a little tiny bit of definition, and then I'll come right back to you guys. Okay, so now that brows are on, they're looking pretty statement-like. I actually purchased the Pro Filter Mini Instant Retouch Setting Powder. What I like about this is that they do it in little minis for someone like myself that doesn't use powder a lot, and they also have the big tubs. I can't remember the price difference. I just knew that I probably wouldn't even get through a small tub, so I purchased the small one. I got it in the shade Butter. The reason why I got Butter, which I believe is the second to lightest, is because I just use it to kind of highlight underneath my eyes and down the center of the face. So I want it more of a highlighter color, but these they don't have that much pigment in them anyway. I was going to go for translucent, but the lady at Fenty told me that the translucent was more lavender, so it turned me off. I wanted something a little bit more yellowy, beigey, if it was going to have a little bit of color. So I think these are super, super cute. I'm going to use a little fluffy brush as opposed to my beauty blender, because I just want to dab it in the areas that I need it. So I'm going to pop it underneath my eyes and then down the center of my face and around my mouth area as well. Seeing as the foundation on the skin is still looking quite radiant, I want to keep it like that, but just in the right places without looking sweaty. Okay, so honest review with the powder, I actually had to switch to a fluffier fat brush just so it would be a little bit softer. I felt like the smaller fluffy brush was still too dense. This helped disperse the product really nicely. It has left me matte, but it doesn't look chalky. But, and this is something that I always struggle with, and I think powders do this anyway, is that when I popped it underneath my eyes, I feel like have gone a little bit darker. I don't know what the science behind that is, but I find that that happens with a lot of powders other than some. So I know that the Too Faced powder that I use in Sand, it's got color to it, like very good pigment to it, and it really, really brightens the under eye area, and I love, love, love that. So it might be that I need to get a powder that has a pigment to it as opposed to translucent, because I always find that translucent, they have like a little bit of a cast of a shadow, you know. I don't know if you guys can see it on camera, but I can see it in person and it irritates me. So I know that this is a Fenty review, but I'm going to show you guys the difference. If you can see a little bit of a sort of shadow grayish tint going on. This is the Too Faced Born This Way multi-use complexion powder in the shade Sand. It looks something like this. It is very much a highlighter color for me. I'm gonna pop, oh, my brush is melting. I'm gonna pop a little bit on my brush, and then I'm just gonna dust that on just ever so slightly, and because it's got a little bit of color, it's gonna just automatically lift the eye. I'm hoping that you guys can see this on camera, because it does really just add a little bit of color. It gets rid of that grayness that a translucent does, and I just prefer it. I think it's a really easy powder. Also, I really like and I tend to go for powders that are super fine. The reason being is I like to touch up, not necessarily with concealer. I don't feel like I need to do that when I've got quite a bit of powder underneath my eyes, but I like to just dab over with a beauty blender to get my skin still looking quite natural. I like to press it into the skin, and I like to work with a powder that allows me to do that, as opposed to a very thick powder or not a finely milled powder that kind of congeals. And this powder allows me to do that. I know the Fenty Beauty allows me to do that as well. But now I feel a little bit better. It's just got a little bit more colour, and it doesn't look so grey underneath my eyes. Speaking of which, I will just take my beauty blender again and just press over that. I feel like this helps the powder sink in. And if you haven't put too much powder on, and your powder is really finely milled, it will allow you to do this step. Now moving on to a step which is probably my most favourite. I feel like my looks just come together when I put this on, is a powder bronzer. I've got this called the Sun Stalker Instant Warmth Bronzer in Caramel Cutie. It's such a beautiful shade, like so beautiful. My utmost favorite bronzer I think is MAC Give Me Sun. It's one that I would reach for. The one that I would put in my go-to is for my basic every single day makeup, and this one is very similar in color. It's super pigmented as well. I love the packaging of this. I love the color. I just feel like it looks super luxurious, and I really like the kind of hexagonal stance that she's got to all of her makeup products. I just think it's really unique and very expensive looking. So using Caramel Cutie and these beautiful skinny dip brushes, I've never seen anything like it. It's so pretty. I'm actually going to take the angled one, and I'm going to pop this on all the places that we use the matchsticks, just to set that in place. And this is going to add even more warmth. It's going to start giving us a little bit of dimension to the skin. I'm also going to take a little blender brush and just take this bronzer down the sides of the nose too. Okay, so this is the first time that I've used this bronzer on its own, never mixed it with anything, and I'm living for the shade. I think this is going to be one of my favorite bronzers. I think this is on par with the MAC Cosmetics Give Me Sun bronzer. It's very similar in shade. It's a little bit deeper. It's just really nice. It's not too orange, it's not too red. It's just a beautiful kind of warmth color for a tan skin. Something that I would really like to add to my cheeks would be blusher. I think a coral blusher, even a pinky, but more coral peachy would go so nicely on the cheeks right now. I feel like it's missing, but I don't believe Fenty do a blusher, do they? I don't think that they do, so I'm going to leave it just with bronzer. I actually love the Caramel Cutie color so much that I'm going to take the same fluffy blender brush, and I'm going to pop this all over my lids, and then I'm going to take it on my lower lash line and smoke it out there too. Okay, so we've almost run out of Fenty Beauty products. However, we are going to move on to highlighter. I've got Mean Money and Hustler Baby, and then I've also got Trophy Wife. Now, let's be real. I bought Trophy Wife and I barely used it because it is pure gold. I love it. I think it looks stunning on a very deep skin tone. I just felt like it was super gold. It looks really nice on the lids, but I bought it because of the hype. That's why I bought this product. But the one that I love and the one that I can use daily is the Hustler Baby. It's the shimmery side in the pan. I love the fact that she's got a sheen and a shimmer, so you can kind of pick which one you want. But we're going to go in with Hustler Baby today, and I'm going to pop this just on the high points of the cheeks and just down the center of the nose, only a little bit because I'm not in love with highlighter anymore. We're just going to pop a little bit down these parts of the face. Okay, so listen, this highlighter It's doing bits. It really does it for me. I really like it. But what I would say is now with highlighters, I just don't like the look of, you know, like a stripe or of them sitting on the skin. So always have to go over with a little bit of, this brush is really molten. Always have to go over with a little bit of like my blush or my bronzer or a powder, just to kind of sink it back in, because I hate the kind of contrast. What I would also do sometimes, and I haven't done it in a while actually, but it helps, is put your highlighter on before you put your bronzer. That way there is no kind of line between the two. I'm also now going to take a little bit more of that highlighter and I'm going to pop it in my inner corners. Okay guys, if you haven't by now tried an inner corner highlighter, just popping the highlighter in the inner corner and maybe dragging it out a little bit, please try it, because it really just ups the game. I feel like, I don't know, it does something. It's a vibe. It does something to your whole face. It kind of just like, your eyes are like the standout piece, you know, and I haven't really even done anything to them. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to apply some mascara, and we'll just apply some false lashes off camera, and then I'll move on to lips. Okay, I'm back. Lashes are on. Moving on to lips. I've lined my lips very lightly with a Primark brown lip liner. I do this with any gloss or nude that I'm going to pop on. And then for gloss, I'm using the Fenty Beauty Gloss Bomb. I'm going to use Fussy, but I just wanted to show you guys that I also have the original. This is the Fenty Glow. Now, if I'm honest, the Fenty Glow is actually quite brown on my lips and for my skin tone, so I think if you were a deeper skin tone, this one would look more neutral on you, maybe even if you've got pigment in the lips. But the Fussy is my go-to. This is actually running out. I bought a new one and then lost it in Ibiza, so we're gonna have to make do with the scrapings of this one. This is Fussy is like a little bit more pink. It's just everything I want in a gloss, and this is the one that I will carry with me at all times. Say if I'm wearing a gloss or I'm even wearing a matte, I'll always have this in my bag, because you don't need a mirror, you just apply it and it just looks beautiful. It looks like a clear gloss with a hint of pink, and that's what I love about it. And that, guys, is my full Fenty face. I hope you guys really enjoyed it. I know I was just concentrating more on the foundation and the base, but I actually really love Fenty products. I think they're really good if you've got more of a brown tan skin tone. Like, speaking from my behalf, the color range, the shade range is really good, and I really like the colors of the foundation as well. I feel like I can slot into them and they look really nice and natural. Like the bronzers, the highlighters, they're all really nice on my skin tone. So if you are struggling to maybe find a foundation, or you just want something that really matches you nicely, maybe try out their foundations. They've got the matte and the hydrating. I prefer the hydrating because it's just more me. I love a glow. This foundation, I feel like, matches me really well, and it just blends in seamlessly, and that's what I love. I think if I was going to use it on a daily, I would definitely just sheer it out a little bit, but that's personal preference. And I think for the way that it looks on my skin, it just looks really healthy. So I'm really happy. Let me know what you guys think. Also follow me on Instagram. I'm going to leave my link down below. I upload content there every day, mostly every day, so you can see from me there, and also log into my stories to see what I'm up to on a daily basis. And that's it. I'm going to sign out, guys. I love you guys so very much, and I'll see you in my next video. Mwah.